Urho and the Bad Booties. It was Urho's first winter, and the snow-covered forest was like a magical playground for a curious puppy. The morning walks had become colder, and Satu noticed that the ice was sharp and rough in some spots. During one of their chilly morning walks, Satu noticed a small dog trotting along in a cozy coat and matching booties. It looked like a dachshund or perhaps an Italian greyhound, breeds not as naturally suited for Finland's harsh winters. Their thin coats and small bodies meant they needed a little extra help staying warm in the snow. This sight made her wonder about Urho's comfort. She turned to Erasmus, who was walking beside her. "Do we need to get Urho some booties to protect his little paws from the snow and ice?" she asked, glancing down at their energetic Labrador, whose tail wagged as he sniffed the frosty air. Erasmus smiled. "I think Urho's built for this kind of weather," he said, "but it couldn't hurt to try them out, especially if it gets icy. Some extra protection might not be a bad idea." Satu nodded thoughtfully. True, even if Labradors are tough, it's worth seeing if he's more comfortable with booties in this weather. Later that day, they returned from the pet store with a set of tiny bright red booties. "These should keep your paws safe and warm, Urho," Satu said cheerfully as she crouched down to put them on him. Urho tilted his head, watching with suspicion as the booties were slipped onto his paws. His ears perked up in curiosity, but when the first booty was fastened, he shook his paw as if trying to fling it off. Satu laughed as she secured the rest, but Urho's expression suggested he wasn't convinced this was a good idea. Once all 4 booties were on, Urho looked down at his paws in disbelief. He took a cautious step, his legs stiff and awkward, almost like he was walking on stilts. Erasmus couldn't hold back his laughter as Urho clumsily clattered around the kitchen. But as soon as they reached the soft powdery snow, Urho had other ideas. Out in the forest, under the sparkling moonlight, the booties' real test began. At first, Urho pranced along the snowy path, occasionally stopping to lift a paw and inspect the strange footwear. Then, with a sudden flick of his paw, one booty went flying, then another. Satu and Erasmus watched in disbelief as Urho kicked and tugged until all 4 booties were scattered across the snow. Free at last, he wagged his tail triumphantly and bounded into the snowdrifts with the joy only a puppy could express. "Oh, Urho," Satu said, shaking her head and picking up the discarded booties. "You're clearly not a booties kind of a dog." As they continued their walk, Urho's paws left happy prints in the snow, his Labrador coat perfectly suited to the chilly Finnish weather. That evening, as he curled up in his bed, Satu stroked his head and smiled. "You're a tough little guy, Urho. You don't need anything extra. You're built for this." Urho wagged his tail softly and went to sleep all content and warm. Sometimes it's okay to trust your instincts and let nature take care of the rest.